Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Oh, I got a few. Work alone at a storage facility. Have a small building that roof work is being done on for 3 years. Lack a strong budget and the units are small so wouldn't bring much income. Haven't had a roofer out in 7 months. Have to check units for squatters and put preventive poisons down. Every week check these units for years. Not a single occupant. Going to the last unit L36 and open it up. Has only one item in the 5x5 space. Old ice chest that is fairly beaten up and filthy. Scrawled on the top is Eric Tools. Look inside and it's a bunch of knives, shanks, and other sharp objects. At least 40 of them stacked on top of each other randomly. Get the police out there just to be safe, and after doing some fingerprinting against the local criminal database, just tell me to toss them. Another more creepier incidents. Guy rented a unit 17 years ago and continues to send checks in the mail via an offshore bank. Checks stop coming. Try to give him a call. The phone is completely outdated. Give the guy a month to contact the place. Nothing. Need to set it up for auction. Go back there. Cut the lock and there is a bunch of old wooden furniture that hasn't been touched in years, all surrounding a wrapped carpet. Unfold the carpet. Something is heavy. Push it out of the way to see what's inside. Is that plastic wrapping? Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Dead body. Call the police. Give them all the details, etc. The dude is a ghost. False identity. Bank account from a corporate account in Jamaica. To my knowledge, police never found the guy. And another. Less creepy or more tragic. Have a motion detector so I get called to the storage at time in all hours of the night. Usually just some people leaving the club and stumbling around the area. However, on the rare occasions we get squatters. A year or so back, there was a frequent one. I will call him Mel. Mel was clinically insane. He was a schizophrenic who really had nowhere else to go, and the homeless shelters and outreach programs in the area suck hard. Mel would hop the 14-feet fence and sleep in the unit I used to house janitorial and welding equipment. I was always kind to him and just asked him to leave. He and I kind of developed a rapport. Over the months, he became more and more unstable. I would be called out by the alarm company at most 3 times a week because of his activities. Had him arrested by some police I trust, hoping that he would get the help he deserved a few times. One night the alarm company calls, and I head out there. The storage bin he frequents is open. He usually closes it. I go in and he had hung himself, leaving a note which all I could make out was sorry about the mess. That one still really fucks with me. Wow. This thread is still alive. I got a few more creepy stories from my work. This one is pretty dark. So warning. Mentioned early that a club is on the same street as the storage I run. This club mostly caters to the upper-lower class but has the occasional thug that comes in and causes trouble. I set up a security camera to specifically watch the back of the club due to drunk assholes occasionally meandering around behind the club, and setting up my motion detectors. So, when the motion detectors go off, go out, check on everything, then check the cameras. I awoke at 5 a.m. with a call from the alarm company. Drive the few minutes it takes to get to work and check it out. Find a tabby half-skinned and meowing for life crouched up against the building. Nearest 24-hour vet hospital is 20 minutes away in the suburbs. Luckily, I had my dog Kennel in the back seat, and after a few scratches I was able to gently get the cat in the kennel and drive like a madman to the vet hospital. Cat didn't make the ride. Extremely pissed. Call the police. And look through the cameras. Some teen stood on the roof of a pizza shop, cut the cat open and threw it over the fence. They didn't find the kid, and 2 weeks later it happened again. Luckily, an eyewitness at the club saw the car he was driving the second time, and they eventually caught him. Not sure what happened after that to the kid. A bit of the bizarre. So when you rent a unit, you sign a contract. And in the contract you agree that the facility has the right to auction off your property if you are delinquent on the payment. Standard clause. Allows the business to recoup some money for the loss of income. There are times when these auctions do not sell, and we are then allowed to throw the property away. Usually this is the case when people store stuff that others just can't pawn. 3 years ago, I had such an incontinent happen, and I was left to dispose of a unit which had boxes of old VHS tapes, along with a few other items like clothes. While I was sorting the clothes from the Goodwill store, I noticed that all of the tapes were in random places. As in, some were 1/3 rewound, others 1/4, etc. When people store blank takes, they are usually all watched or all rewound, mainly because they don't have recordings. My curiosity is piqued. So I put a tape in, and it's just of a recording on mute of a wedding from the bushes outside of a well-known local reception hall. Another was a few recordings again on mute of a coffee shop I didn't recognize. After skimming through a few of these, I noticed that none of the people are in the same shots. The locations are randomized, and all in public areas. The creepiest one by far was when the cameraman was watching some older woman's house from the bushes for hours, spying on what looked like a Thanksgiving or Christmas family party. After watching this, I said nope and just threw the 6 boxes in the dumpster. Man, X moves slow. Posted the first 3 stories 3 days ago. So a bit more of the bizarre. Most of my customers are alright people, but occasionally I get a few oddballs. More than normal, since this is a business that deals with loss on a daily basis. So, you at times see people at their worst. There are a few customers that take the cake. Not going into non-X related things, so I will focus on the ones that fit that mold. So, this old lady starts renting one of the smaller units. She is very vague and elusive when talking to me. But her business has her problems as long as it doesn't roll over and affect me or the business I have a live and let live policy with customers. She is in her late 60s, I think, and has an Irish accent. Skinny as a twig, and always dresses with very bright, almost surreal colors. Over the months, she warms up to me and starts talking a bit more about her life and such. Old people love talking, and work gets fairly boring and lonely, so I am always down for a good conversation. There is something off about her. She uses words I don't understand, and she slips in and out of Gaelic, I think, while speaking to me. Even more so when she gets excised. Anyway, she starts asking me for help carrying stuff to her unit. I do mind doing this as it gets me out of the office and allows me some exercise at work. So, one of these times she asked me to carry this large old oak briefcase to her unit. I usually just drop this off at the front of her unit and let her have her privacy. But these times she needs help placing it inside. I am thinking, cool. I am always wondering what's inside these things for the more odd customers. Inside is a few highly decorated oak boxes. A lot of odd charms, I guess would be the right word, and dozens of stuffed seals and seal coats. She just laughs when I look at the coats and says in an extremely serious tone,
"Damn selkies can never stay in the sea where they belong."
in a creepy manner.
I work at a CVS, and we had a mentally ill customer go into the women's bathroom. About 20 minutes later, an older woman and her husband come in, rush over to my manager and beg him to open the bathroom door. We told them we couldn't due to privacy. They explained their daughter was mentally ill and attempted to self-end. So we went over to the bathrooms and knocked first. We heard whimpers, and at this point the mom was crying her eyes out. Manager opens the door, and I will never forget what I saw. The bathroom floor was completely covered in blood. Not even the bathroom drain was handling it. The girl had 3 medical books open, all on pages that showed major arteries. She looked up at us with the saddest look on her face, and it was just horrible. My manager tried to perform CPR on the girl, as literally after she looked up she fainted. I ran over to the store's phone to call the police. Paramedics came, fire department, police showed up and had us shut down the store as they wanted to make sure she wasn't a victim of a stabbing. It was pretty crazy and very morbid. That's been stuck in my head for a while. It happened 4 years ago. About 2 months later, keep in mind these are all late happenings, around 8 p.m. 2 hours before we close. We find a girl lying behind a desk that nobody goes behind. A bunch of pills bottles were opened up around her and a few beer cans. Called the police once again. Some customer had complained of a horrible smell earlier, but we were too understaffed and super busy to really go check. So, at this CVS 2 people have died. I used to work at Michael's, which is an arts and crafts store. One of the employees had a heart attack on her way to the break room, so nobody knew why she was gone for so long until we looked. Before that, I worked at a movie theater. Guy had a heart attack during Memoirs of Geisha. I'll always remember that movie because of that guy. He was a fat guy and his belly had expanded so big, he died there, because the theater had no ramp.
I've got a few. 9 months at Wendy's, working the closing shift, washing dishes and running drive-through. Stuck there until about 1 every night. Just me, grow closer, and a manager. Workers get hired and quit like crazy. New wave of grill closers in the summer. Dumb high school guys. Equipment at this store is shit. Coolers online constantly broken. Freezer temperatures fluctuating. One night new kid Jose starts screaming his head off in the freezer. Figure he dropped something on his foot again. Dry my hands off and go open the door, only to get bear hugged. He was a really weird guy, so I pushed him off and left him with the manager. Apparently he had gone in to put the chili meat away, and claimed the door wouldn't open and that someone was in there with him. Door is literally just pushed to open. No handle or anything. Impossible to get stuck as it doesn't lock. Worked with him a few times after that, and he was always jumpy and propped the freezer door open before he went in. Suddenly quit, heard from his sister, who also worked there, that he was having nightmares. Didn't really think anything of it until later. More Wendy's. Another new kid gets hired, Jesse. Hotshot idiot. Thought everyone was his friend even though they hated his guts. Almost immediately starts having the same problems as Jose. We all figured it was just general stupidity, as we had to tell him how to do things several times and he still wouldn't get it. A couple weeks in, while I'm out cleaning the dining room, he gets stuck in the freezer as well. Walk into the back to do dishes, and the two of them are sitting in the office rewinding one of the cameras. Crack a joke about it, but the both of them are dead serious. Next few days, every weird noise had Kevin and Jesse jumping about a foot into the air. Before we would joke around about Wendy haunting the place, but night shift got dead quiet after that. Boring as fuck without people to joke around with, so I started wearing headphones whenever I didn't have to wear a headset for drive-through. Around this time I was working 70 hours a week, 40 at a job at home and 30 at Wendy's, which had been my job at college, 45-minute drive away. Would wake up 6:45 a.m., work 7 to 3 or 7 to 5 at an old produce market, go home to change and nap, then drive to Wendy's for a 7 p.m. to closing time. Closed at midnight, typically left around 1:30 a.m. Still not sure if my weird experiences that summer were because of sleep deprivation or real shit happening. First thing to change was the customers. Summer was hot as hell, customers were constantly cranky, but now they started to get genuinely frightening. Gained several regulars, since I worked 5-6 nights a week, always the same time. One of my regulars, Mike, was a lot more aggressive than the others. Started asking me about my other job, where I lived, what I did for fun. Generally shut him down nicely. Summer was always busy and I wanted to get done and out ASAP. Drive-through was always backed up. One night while closing and listening to music, my headphones start acting up, getting all statusy. Swear I can hear a voice in the background. Get freaked out, decide to just take them off and leave them in my phone in the back office. Everyone's finished. About to leave when I realize I left my phone in the back office. On my way out, manager stops me. Tells me someone was in the parking lot by my car, hanging around. We check the cameras, and Mike is standing by my car. Trunk is popped, stuff moved around, some on the ground. I was keeping clothes in there in case I couldn't stop home. Bras and shit were all moved around. Called the police, watched from through the dining room blinds while they convinced him to leave. One of my bras and a shirt was missing when I got home to check. Mike never came back through the drive-through.
Be me, 1995. Be 15. Working on my uncle's ranch for the summer in Mexico. He usually jokes about the El Cucay shit. Normally, I get a little spooked about it. Worked almost all day. It's dark outside. Decide to go back to the house. Coming back from the barn, which seemed to be almost a mile away, hear some weird-ass noises like cackling and laughing of someone with a deep voice. Think it's my uncle screwing around. Walk back to my house. Notice his truck isn't in the driveway. Hear the laughing again, this time closer and louder with something scraping on the floor. Run inside and grab my uncle's shotgun. Wait until my uncle gets back. Tell him everything.
Oh, maybe it was just some kids having some fun at night.
That laughing didn't sound like a kid's. I got more of these if you want to hear them. I saw some crazy shit in Mexico from the past and the present. 3 weeks after the Laughing Man Bull. Decide to go into the mountains because why not? Nature. before I was going to go. My uncle was with his stories again, trying to scare me out of it. Apparently something about La Llorona. Ignore his shit. Get my backpack and start walking to the mountains. Reach a good point with a dirt trail. Begin hiking up the trail. Seeing some sights. Suddenly hear leaves rustling in the distance. Keep thinking it's some animals in the area. Travel around, nice sights to see. It started getting dark, so I decide to head home. Begin hearing the leaves again, this time closer than before. Jesus Christ. GIF. Then I hear it. An eerie sobbing. I was sure it was a woman crying. Remember what my uncle said about La Llorona kidnapping kids around Mexico. Begin sprinting like crazy back to the ranch. I'm beginning to get tired, but I never stopped running. Literally did some run Forrest run like shit. Reach my uncle's truck. Open it with the spare key I keep on me. Lock the doors and cover myself with a cheap flea market blanket and beginning praying fast as I could in Spanish. Hid in there until 7 in the morning. Only way I found out was after my uncle woke me up. Tell him everything about what just happened the other night. I warned you about going into the mountains. Anon, but La Llorona isn't real, I was just trying to scare you. Maybe you just heard stuff in your head. Never went back to those mountains again. Every time someone mentions La Llorona, I can still hear that sobbing in the back of my head.
Used to work midnights doing tech support. Stepped outside with a co-worker to smoke. I finish up quickly because I had the sudden realization I really needed to pee. As I'm walking towards the bathroom, I feel like someone is directly behind me. I look behind. It's that same co-worker. Thought it was kind of odd because he said he was staying out. Head on in, start to take a piss. Expecting him to come in at any moment. I finish up, wash my hands, walk out and go back to my desk, figuring he might have had gone to the vending machine instead. I sit down at my desk when I notice that co-worker is coming inside. I ask him about it. He has no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Says he's been outside the entire time. I shrug it off thinking it was just me being sleepy. 4 months later. That co-worker left 2 months prior to the next incident, got a job someplace else. I'm on my lunch break, and something compels me to go eat lunch at the break room by HR. Usually I eat it in the main one, because it's got a TV and other shit, but for some reason I just really feel like I should go to the HR one. I walk in, and there sitting is that co-worker. He's got a brown paper bag and a can of Pepsi in front of him. He's just sitting there. I act really surprised, say hey, ask him what he's doing here. Thought he left, etc. Just stonewalls me, doesn't even acknowledge me in the slightest. I might as well be invisible. I figure fuck it and leave, go tell the other guys we both worked with that I saw him. They don't believe me. We go down to the break room, and he's gone, but the brown paper bag and the can of Pepsi are still there. Since that time I've transitioned from different projects and different working hours. Now on days. Occasionally I think I see him though, either walking across the parking lot or walking down the hall. Just like a kind of glimpse and then gone. Tried sending him messages and adding him on Facebook, but never responds. Everyone else I know that mutually knew him is gone, and I have no way of getting in contact with them either.
I work 3 months a year as an actor at one of those walk-through haunted houses that are big in the US right now. We're one of the large professional ones. And the land we rent out from the local county park is actually the old now filled-in pool and facilities for the segregated community back when that was still a thing in the US. On record, I think we've had at least 3 drowning, as well as a death on the property that predates the pool in which a girl fell down a well. Story from a coworker. I wasn't there, but I saw the aftermath. Working late in off-season. We basically spend half the year building new sections and repairing old ones. He was screwing down paintings to a wall at all 4 corners. Everything has to be crazy secured like that because drunks like to walk through and knock shit over. Enters room just in time to see a man in a long jacket turn the corner out of it. Loud fucking noises ensue. He nopes out of there and call cops. Assumes homeless broke in. Cops check the place out. It's empty. The entire hallway after that room has all the paintings ripped from the walls and scattered on the ground. Each one had been secured with 4 screws drilled into the studs. Another. Worth noting that most of our haunt is outdoor and we have a rather large plot of land. Like I said, it was a full pool, facilities, a pump house for filtration, a kids' pool, and bleachers. We have one prop that is particularly loud. Fake electric chair with an animation dummy. He convulses and smoke comes out of him. Loudspeakers blasting the kind of screams you'd expect from that kind of death. While in operation, the noise is usually drowned out, but the rest of the haunt. While we are closed, he can be heard from literally any spot in the haunt or the parking lot. Usually this is good for a laugh if you walk past him and forget that he's on. It's not as funny when you can hear him going off from across the haunt in the off-season. Nobody was over there to hit the sensor. And even if there had been, you know that there is no power of compressed air going to that part of the haunt. This happens almost once every build season.
Be me over the summer. Roommate says she's working at some place in downtown LA and there's another position available. Graveyard shift, but earning $75 in one day. Cheer. Turns out the place is a battered women's shelter. A bit apprehensive as I myself am a young woman and will be working alone, and God knows if one of the women is a lunatic. Fuck it, worth the money. Arrive at shelter. The place is huge and on the same property as a stereotypical looking haunted house. A weird old black lady shows me what to do around the 3-story building, complete with a 4th-story attic. She leaves me alone to do my work. Not shit to do, so watch the cameras that are all around the building and on constantly. Keep watching and seeing lights flicker and what I thought looked like a nun at the end of the hallway. A later discovered place was founded and later dedicated to a nun. And at this point I'm freaked out, so I try to distract myself with music. Doesn't work, and the whole time I'm sitting in the office I feel like I'm being watched. Walk up to check stupid water heater in the attic and again get an ominous feeling. Nope, back down to the office. Go out for a smoke and to patrol grounds. Fresh handprint on the glass doors. Nobody is awake because it's the middle of the night. At this point I'm scared shitless and just count down the last couple hours of shift. Don't think I'd do it again, even though you get paid decently for not much work.
I used to work as campus security for a university, mostly late at night, wandering around in the early morning hours just making sure no crisis was erupting. As my shifts usually ran till around 6 to 8 a.m. in the morning, I also used to caffeinate myself up pretty heavily, which meant that typically towards the end of it I was pretty jumpy and jittery. There was a particular women's dorm I patrolled that had this one particular floor on it that stood out. I'm not sure what caused this little campus subculture to occur, but the women on that floor were like savages. The floor was constantly trashed, the bathroom a mess, loud noise happening at all hours of the day, clothes just strewn about the hallway. I could never even figure that one out. It's like they would just append their laundry hampers out in the hall or something. So one morning, probably around 4 a.m., I've just stepped into the hallway, resting at that between point when the caffeine and sugar have you really wired up and when you're about to crash, a little paranoid, a little preoccupied, and I start walking along, staring absent-mindedly at this random collection of clothes scattered at the other end. And then, out of nowhere, one of the shirts just kind of bunches up and starts to slide, all on its own, across the floor. I stop and watch, dumbfounded as this goes dragging, unaided, back and forth over the carpeting. And I remember thinking, all right, Zeno, poltergeist. You can handle this. So I grab my flashlight and slowly approach the still animated shirt, reach out, and grab it. And out pops this little ferret head, almost immediately after which its owner bursts out of her room looking for it. Escaped ferret, rolling around merrily in a shirt. But I'll always remember the day, because on that day for at least a few brief seconds my conscious mind was convinced it was experiencing a supernatural event.
Be me. I work at Taco Bell because I'm in a long rut that I'm totally gonna get out of soon. Hopefully. Running the drive-thru at midnight. Nobody shows up at this hour except for stoners. Skeleton crew working the restaurant. We're eating tacos so we don't have to buy our own dinners or breakfasts elsewhere. Fucking weird-ass guy shows up to the window. Something really off about him, he seems like he's in a hurry. Orders a lot of tacos and is out as fast as he came. Fast forward to tomorrow. The police are checking the security footage when I come into work. What happened? Car matches the description of the one used by a suspect in the West Mesa bone collector murders that they're seeking for questioning. I might have served tacos to a serial killer. Get laid off for eating tacos on the job. This was 4 years ago, the killer's identity is still unknown.
My work has always been boring. The security's lax as fuck, so it's normal when random people walk in and nothing to be alerted about. But my town has a really big mental health center in it, composing of multiple buildings where people from all over the country are sent to be looked after. Some are just a little fucked up and dangerous to themselves, so they go there. Others are murderers deemed unfit for trial. My mother works in the pharmacy of one of the buildings, and she knows some of the more notorious crazies from doing overtime watching them. She has some real messed up stories. My brother starts working at a movie rental place. Since it's the only one in the town, it's pretty popular. And anyone from the nut house that gets a day pass is allowed to rent whatever movie they want, so he meets a bunch of crazies. He meets one guy that seems like a genuinely nice, cool guy, shoots the shit with him a lot over different movies while he's coming into rent. After a couple months of doing this every day, the guy stops showing up. He was in the nut house for murdering a couple of people and eating them. After years of care, he had been allowed to apply for day passes because he seemed to be stable enough for it, and he was always extremely well behaved. He left on a day pass with another guy. They went to his parents' house and murdered them together. Then he murdered the guy he was with. Then he ate them. Afterwards, he turned himself in and is back in the place. We always wonder if they had tried to rent a movie that day only to find that the place was closed or my brother wasn't there.
Do you mind sharing some of your mom's stories?
Generally, it's just typical crazy person stuff, best one I can remember. She's doing night shift overtime at the place. Basically just watch them sleep on the cameras, do rounds to check the rooms individually. Every room has a big, unbreakable glass window on the front of it beside the door, and if need be, get them drinks and shit. She sees some guy wake up and start moving around on the camera, and he looks really distraught. Goes to check on him. He starts shouting random words in a language she can't understand, even though the dude was apparently born not too far from here. As she tries to talk to him, he gets pissed and slams himself against the window. And every time she tells him to calm down, he does it again until he's eventually just smashing his head against it over and over again. Actually starts cracking the window, blood's going everywhere. She doesn't have a phone on her and she's too afraid to run for a phone to call security. The guy actually smashes his head so hard against the window so many times. He eventually chips parts of it off, and the hole's getting big enough for him to put his head through. Gets his head stuck in it as blood's pouring all over the room and the hallway, then passes out. This was a pretty long time ago. I think after that they decided it would be a good idea to put the glass with wire frames inside them in all the windows.
Facilities manager for a particularly old building that used to be the president's mansion at my uni over the summer. Basically get to live in a kick-ass cottage on the grounds of an awesome house for free and salary pay despite being a student worker and doing fuck all. House is absolutely beautiful French colonial deal with a huge willow tree on the grounds and gardens everywhere, but can be incredibly creepy in that way only old beautiful houses can. One night watching Chinese girl cartoons in my underwear. Get a weird phone call at about 1 a.m. No caller ID, not even mobile user or number blocked or even a number. Just blank calling screen. Answer. No sound at all, not even spooky white noise. Whatever, leave me alone. A few minutes later and the alarm system for the mansion goes off. Have to put on pants, wait for the campus PD to come and clear the house and then lock up. An eventful sweep, probably just rats. Finally go back to sitting around naked. Maybe an hour later the alarm goes off again. Fuck my life, go stand in the parking lot to wait for the popo. While I'm waiting, get the weird call again with no ID. Still no sound. Convince some asshat is playing a prank and blow a fart at them before hanging up. Cops come again and get shit squared away. Go back to my room. Not even 30 minutes later the goddamn alarm starts up again. Go meet the cops and tell them to not worry and let me handle it. Go check all the locks again. Go down to the cellar to reset the alarm. Why would they put it in the cellar? Typical spooky ass bear bulb hanging from the ceiling. About to set the alarm. Get that ID-less phone call. Answer it pissed thinking it's my coworkers or someone messing with the alarm to mess with me. This time there's a single burst of static and then it disconnects. Officially spooked. Set the alarm and GTFO of that cellar. Walking back up the stairs in the dark. See a shadow dart across the doorway at the top of the stairs. Feel that electric tingle run down my spine as every hair on my body stands up. DEFCON 1. Sprint at full speed up the stairs and out the front door. Walking back to my cottage. Look back at the house. Can see the cellar windows lit up despite remembering I turned it off because it was spooky going up the stairs. Nope, screw it, the cleaning ladies can get it in the morning. The only paranormal experience I've ever had. The guy who took over for me for the fall has said he got spooked a couple of times and has seen windows lit up when he's sure he hit all the lights. Be me. Work at Donut Bakery in Phoenix. Early morning shift, baking fresh batch for early birds and commuters. Listening to Can I, only one showed up for the moment. Jamming, but something outside the window catches my eye. Big windows covering almost entire wall facing the parking lot plaza. Bummy dude standing there, minding own business. Seriously consider giving him a donut. Suddenly drunkard comes up, starts yelling at bum. Kicks him. Oh hell no, MP3. Rush outside with baking pan. Run up to drunk, bash his kneecap. Tell him to fuck off. Runs off limping. Bum thanks me, no problem, want a donut. He says no, defending him was enough. I insist but he declines. Ask what the drunk was yelling about. Bum says he didn't hear it, he was too startled. Okay, go back to work and leave Bum alone. 2 minutes later look out and Bum is gone. Later that day ask co-worker who worked there about a year about the bum. You ever see him before?
A homeless man.
Yeah.
Well, a year ago some dude came up and beat a hobo to death at night.
It was caught on the security camera. It was some shambling dude with a big bottle. Broke it over Bum's head and stabbed him with it. Police catch him, charged for murder and public intoxication. MFW cliché spook. Sometimes see a bum sitting out in the parking lot.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.